Amazing though, wasn't it? And it's amazing sometimes when you watch and you see what some people can do, right? You're sitting there and, first off, I don't know why you need to stamp 100 things that fast, but just the fact that someone can do it just kind of makes you say, wow, right? And I don't know about you, but it's okay to take my time and get undressed. Right? I'm never in that much of a hurry to get into the shower or anything else, right? Didn't want to run that fast, but that was about it. But when we look at humans sometimes and some of the things that we do, it is amazing. And, you know, in finding all of these videos, I had a ton more that we didn't show today, but I saw a lot of interviews with these guys who break records. Like there was one where this guy, he has something like 88 world records, Guinness Book records, and one of them is he has held the heaviest object on his head, a car, for 30 seconds. He balanced a car on his head. And listening to the interview of him talking about that and some others, and people asked him, how? Why? And it was one common thread with all of them. They all said, well, it started out really simply. I was doing this. And when you hear him say, I was doing this, and this guy, he just had to carry something, and one day he accidentally put it on his head, and it just balanced. He figured out he could do it. The stamper, we can all stamp, can't we? Anybody can't stamp? Right, we can all stamp. It usually starts off with something so simple, so basic, and so fundamental. And then somewhere along the lines, they take it to a whole nother level, which then by the time we see it, we're looking at it and we're saying, wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. And honestly, if you look around, nature's just like that. Think about the human body for a second. Wonderfully complex. Scientists are still trying to figure out how this human body works. We still don't get it after all these years. So all these systems, so complex, and it all comes down to, if you think about it, each and every one of us started as one cell. We were all one cell. Something so simple that split and split. And then all of a sudden it became this complex thing called a human digestive tract, a brain, a spinal column, you know, all the different systems of the body. That's the body. What about the computer? Anybody like to use the computer? Anybody use the computer? Right? Ever sat down and thought about how does the computer work? Anybody ever really sat and thought about it? And the baseline of the computer is nothing but a bunch of ones and zeros. When you think of all the wonderful things that the computer does, it all comes down to a string of ones and zeros. There's nothing overly complex about a 1 or a 0, right? I mean, 1 is usually the first number you learn. Usually you learn 0 until probably you get to 9. So it might be the 10, so maybe you think that's a little bit more complex. But still, it's just a series of ones and zeros. It makes up this wonderful machine called the computer. There's all this wonderful computing, all this wonderful stuff that we can do today. Yesterday, my wife and I went out to dinner. And we went to dinner, and the chef prepared this fantastic meal. And it was eggplant parmesan. Now, we make eggplant parmesan at home. However, our eggplant parmesan at home tasted nothing like his eggplant parmesan from the restaurant. And when we looked at what he did, this chef, we realized there was nothing but basic ingredients. There was nothing special. He didn't come up with some new fancy ingredient that no one's ever heard of before, that you're sitting in there saying, I don't even know what ingredient that is. No, there was Parmesan. There was eggplant. There was tomatoes. It was all basic stuff. But somehow, somehow, when I took a bite of that, I said, wow, this is amazing. My favorite sport, football. You know, we love trick plays. Anybody watch football? All right. No Dallas fans in the house, I'm sure. Yeah, no Dallas fans. No Giants fans either. Philadelphia fans we can get along with, but no Dallas or what's that other team? Yes, those guys.
The Redskins.
Yeah, Redskins fans are cool.
We're gonna ask all the Redskins fans to exit out.
We're not asking any Redskins fans to do anything. Anyway, so love football, and very often when you're watching a game, an analysis will come on and say, this game came down to just a couple plays, and they show these plays, and they were brilliant plays. And they talk about how brilliant this play was, and how amazing this catch was, this throw was, this run was. But here's what I know from years of playing football. Football comes down to the basics of blocking and tackling. There is no amazing play in the sport of football that happens without the basics of blocking and tackling. Basics. Same thing with painting. I like my creation. I shouldn't even call it mine. It's really my kids' creation. Painting. The greatest the greatest pictures that you see. The Jackson Pollocks, any painter that you see, the greatest stuff that they do, all comes down to the basic primary colors. Red, blue, and yellow. The basics. And guess what? God is the same way. God's the exact same way. For some of us, we may look at our lives and we may say, you know what, my life is absolutely horrible. My life is amazingly horrible. For some of us, you may say, you know what, I see God working in my life and I'm amazed by God. Either way, somehow you consider your life to be amazing. Amazingly bad, amazingly good, amazingly plain. And God's at work. And over the next several weeks, in this series called Primary Colors, what we're going to attempt to do is we're going to attempt to break God down into some primary colors, into the yellow, blue, and red, the primary colors. And the deal is, it's really simple. It's really simple. Because when we look at the amazing nature of God, when we look at all the things that God do, we can't comprehend. But maybe, just maybe, if we understood the basics, it might make a little bit more sense. Maybe, just maybe, if we knew that this is where he started, some of his more amazing things was, we could say, okay, maybe I can understand it a little bit better. Now, here's what I'm not promising you. I'm not promising you that after this 6-7 weeks, we're all going to walk out and say, I completely understand God. I can now think like God. I understand. Listen, I know how to mix like God. Here I go. I'm mixing. No, that's not what I'm saying. The whole point here is that you can get a little bit more of an understanding. Just a little bit more clarity. So that when he's talking to you, when he's saying things, when he's showing you things, that you can start to see the primary colors of them. And maybe get a little better understanding of what he wants you to do. So today what we're going to do is we're going to start off and we're going to call our resident painter up. Y'all did know Phil was not just, what's your tagline? No, he's got some fancy tagline he actually puts on his emails. Yeah, it says something like not just a painter, but